Your second stimulus check questions are answered, and big debates heat up about the type of check, the manner of delivery, and how soon you'll receive it. Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one's about the check answering all of your incredible 1,000 questions yesterday on a day in which we're about to reach 100,000 subscribers. This one's about the check, especially if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and Veterans benefits. Big, exciting, great news today. So I'm getting into it right now. A lot of confirmations about the check as the Republicans and Democrats heat up. First of all, 1, there will be a check. 2, currently the mainstream argument is for a single check. There is still a battleground over multiple checks, but most of the parties are calling for a single check. 3rd, the vast majority of the parties are now calling for a single $1,200 check, but more about that in a second. 4th, they're all saying that the check would come to you in August. 5th, they're all saying that dependents would get the check in a way that's different than the CARES Act. More about that as well in a second. And finally, 5th, there's a battleground as to how the check will be delivered, and will the check's vote come separately from the second stimulus package? So let me get to the details before I get to your incredible questions. There's a lot of real hot air that's brewing as we expected. The Republicans, Democrats were supposed to have 2 positions on the second stimulus check. As of last week, I said there were 3 positions. Those were the White House, which said Donald Trump said he wanted to give you more than $1,200. The Democrats that said they wanted to give you one $1,200 check. And 3rd was Mitch McConnell, Steve Mnuchin, who called basically for one $1,200 check. And there was additionally Democrats calling for multiple checks, $2,000 for 6 months. Today, the flip-flopping started to happen. The White House, led by Steve Mnuchin, dropped from that more than $1,200 story to a single $1,200 check. Flip-flop number 1. Flip-flop number 2 was Mitch McConnell, who initially didn't even want to give you a check, now says, I will give you a $1,200 check. So there seems to be a movement at the moment for a single $1,200 check. That's the great news. The second thing that is really quite exciting is that the check will be coming to you by August. I mean, I really don't think September, but I'm going to tell you what is a weird wrinkle. A weird wrinkle right away is the Democrats are trying to hold up the check vote, as you recall, the second stimulus check is part of the second stimulus package, into an entire vote for the whole package, and that could come as late as August 9th, August 10th for a vote. But the Republicans say, no, we want to vote on this right away. Let's get this out. Let's get this check out in the mail right away. And they want to have an emergency bill just for the check done right away, and the Democrats don't. It sounds like the parties are flopping. Suddenly the party that wants to give relief doesn't want to give it fast, and the party that didn't want to give you the relief wants to do it fast. It's a little bit of everything today. There you go. Now, the things that are a little bit confusing are the following. First, the cap. I got to tell you, I want you to understand that when we're talking about proposals, these aren't bills, these aren't laws, they are proposals. The proposals for the caps are all over the place. Mitch McConnell last week said he wanted to cap it at $40,000 2019 cap. The Democrats said they wanted to cap it at the CARES Act, which was $78,000 per individual. Well, this morning, Steve Mnuchin said, no, we're going to stay at the CARES Act. We're not going to go with Mitch McConnell's cap, which must have made Mitch very happy. The White House said, go pound sand, Mitch. We're not going to do your idea. Now, I got to tell you that other Republicans actually want to give you no stimulus. Some Republicans want to drop the cap even lower than Mitch McConnell. But Steve Mnuchin, who's really driving the truck here, is saying, no, we're going to keep the cap at where it was for the first stimulus package, which is $78,000 individual 2019 earnings. Double that if you're husband and wife. Now, we also know that all the proposals say that the second stimulus check will be given to dependents despite your age. So dependents whether you're 16, 17, 20, 23, 93. The first stimulus package did not give a check to dependents over the age, I think, of 17 years of age. So if you are 45 years old and you're an adult dependent on your son's tax return, you are not eligible for first stimulus check. If you are a 18-year-old kid in college, you are not eligible for a first stimulus check. The second stimulus check packages, which is great news, all propose to give every dependent a second stimulus check, up to 3 dependents per tax return. So if you're a single mom and you have 4 kids, unfortunately, 1 child would not get a second stimulus check. Now, here is the realm of confusion. And, I said this earlier today, I'm going to say it again. I am not happy with the news reporters that are covering the story for broadcast news like ABC, CBS, NBC. They're really not asking questions correctly. And so they ask a question and they get a they ask a question and they get a response to something they didn't ask. And then I read the copy and I'm like, I don't understand what this question doesn't answer that thing. So a lot of you picked up on it. Amazing. I mean, very, very smart viewers picked up on this confusion. Steve Mnuchin was asked a question which had nothing to do with the dependents or the dependent's check and said, we're going to do everything how we did in the first stimulus check. Well, the question wasn't about the amounts. The question was, are you going to do this? And so news reporters took the story out of context and are now running a story that says, in some places, that Steve Mnuchin said that the dependents will get the same amount the dependents got in the first stimulus check, which is $500, not $1,200, and that Steve Mnuchin said that dependents 17 years or older won't get a second stimulus check, just like the first stimulus package. Problem is, Steve Mnuchin didn't say that, folks. This is where bad news reporting gets very, very bad, because they're taking his comments, which were not responsive to the question, taking them out of context, reporting the news incorrectly, and now everyone is very, very confused. Bottom line is, don't worry. We still don't have the actual Mitch Onse, the actual bill for the Republicans. So the other thing that I get a lot of questions about is child support. Child support will not be taken out of the second stimulus check. It will be taken out of the first stimulus check. Next, the manner of delivery, how you get the second stimulus check, appears to be lined up to arrive to you the same way you got your first stimulus check. So if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, and you receive your stimulus check that way, your first stimulus check, you'll receive your second stimulus check the same way. Let me say that in another way. If you receive your benefits by direct deposit, you'll get your second stimulus check by direct deposit. If you get it by paper check, you get it by paper check. If you get it by debit card, you get by debit card. Next, a lot of viewers have asked this really great question. They say, hey, I did the non-filer the first time around. Do I have to do it again? No. But if you are a viewer of this channel and you are one of the following situations, please get ready, not yet, but get ready to do a non-filer. Otherwise, you won't get a second stimulus check under the current proposals. 1, you newly went on benefits this year. 2, you did not file 2019 tax return. 3, you are a person on benefits but also have a child who's a dependent who's eligible for a second stimulus check. Those situations, the first stimulus package, they said, hey, we need a non-filer on file. That's a tongue twister from the IRS. And if you didn't do that, you weren't going to get the check. The second time around, it seems as though that's going to be required as always. Again, so don't need to do it just yet, but I want you to be informed of the situation. So some of the things you need to understand with the second stimulus check are the following: that the determination of the second stimulus check is really up in arms because the Republicans want to really decide this right now. For some reason, they're trying to really push it through. And the Democrats are trying to hold off on the decision, making the second stimulus check part of the entire package and not making it set for a vote until August. Ultimately, it is really quite interesting where this battleground is going. The strange thing is the Republicans are moving the mechanism to get it voted on quicker, but they're not agreeing upon other parts. And so The Republicans, as of today, have still not debuted their second stimulus check bill. They said they want a second stimulus check as a separate bill, but they've not proposed it. They were supposed to introduce it to press on Monday. They did not. They were supposed to introduce it then by Tuesday. It was nowhere to be seen. On Wednesday, it was nowhere to be seen. Thursday morning, they said they had it ready. They did not debut it. And at the time of my recording, which is 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, they still had not debuted to press the actual second stimulus check bill. What's going on, LALATE? So this is basically what's going on. The Republicans apparently are not aligned, and they fully admit this. Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump, and Mitch McConnell had said that they were drafting the second stimulus check package and that they were going to get it together over the last couple of weeks and debut it this Monday. It didn't work because ultimately what happened was a lot of other Republicans are on both sides of that proposal. There are some Republicans who don't want to give you a second stimulus check. I have to absolutely tell you that. It is clearly there. They just don't want to give you a second stimulus check. I'm not going to explain the rationale of their argument because it is irrational. But then there's other Republicans who want to give you more stimulus than what Mitch and Steve want to give you. It's much the same as the Democrats. Remember, I keep on talking about those multiple checks, those 6 checks, 1 check every month for 6 months until the pandemic improves or until unemployment decreases. That's also a division in the Democrats. It is not currently lasted as a bill that is currently before vote, but it has been introduced as a bill, and it represents a fraction of the Democrats that are really unhappy with a single $1,200 check. Here's ultimately where we're sitting. If you don't realize what's happening, I think you do, though. Smart politicians are now realizing that one check delivered and delayed does not look good and doesn't help anyone. You know, you were entitled to multiple checks during the first pandemic. You were entitled to a check for the month of March, April, May, because you were on lockdown. You didn't get those checks. And so ultimately you were screwed because you were promised multiple checks. You didn't get them. And Republicans and Democrats both are responsible for cutting that out of the first CARES Act and only sending you one check. Voters are not forgetting that. They're going into the fall election saying, hey, where are my multiple checks from the spring? I was on lockdown. You didn't help me. Well, now we come into the fall and we have July. Everyone's sitting around unable to make rent, unable to pay utilities, unable to pay for the gas. And you have Democrats who usually are trying to push this faster, sitting back and saying, you know what? We are not going to piecemeal, in their exact words, all this part of stimulus into different things. Rent assistance, hazard pay, PUA, second stimulus check. We're going to do it all as one package. So don't come to the table, Republicans, with separate bills. Republicans are saying, no, we got to do this fast. We need to help people now, and we're going to do it right away. I don't know what's going on, but I freely admit that there seems to be someone waking up in the presidential administration right away. They realize that this is a real big problem. It is a big problem. It is a problem that people need money right now. It's a problem that there's a financial cliff out there that we're all going to fall over and collapse in, and the economy is going to literally go up in flames if you don't get these stimulus checks out fast. And then there's the concern that, we're just not moving on anything. Ultimately, the big concern is that with stimulus, if you don't get it to people fast, it doesn't do anything. The next thing is that I want you to understand that nowhere in this equation has anyone said this is your last stimulus check. So even when we're talking about those 6 checks, if we don't get 6 checks approved, which at the moment does not seem to be in the works, then don't think that you will not get another check going forward. Ultimately, I saw your comments in today's video a few hours ago, which is really well watched. Thank you so much. And you all were really upset that 1, it's only $1,200. 2, that the president had said it was going to be more than $1,200, and now he's retreating back to $1,200. 3, that the Democrats are trying to hold this up until August when the Republicans are saying, let's get the people their check right now. What's the big deal? I agree. I agree 100% with your remarks. It's very troubling. And ultimately, what people need is money now. They're being evicted. They can't make rent. They can't pay for gas. They can't pay for electricity. And what's going on with Congress? Ultimately, if you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below. We're here to inspire, inform, and educate, and keep you motivated and educated as this real big debate heats up for the next couple of weeks. It's going to get very heated. There's going to be a lot of hot air. And the most important thing I wanted you to take away from today's video is the following. When you hear someone say this or that, I don't want you to think it's the bill. I don't want you to think it's the law. I don't want you to think that is it. Because I have seen a lot of people comment in today's video. I was already saying, I heard we're only going to get a second stimulus check if it's this. And I heard that we're only going to get unemployment unless it's this. And I heard we're only going to get... No, these are politicians who have a little bit of an ego, who are trying to toot their horn and trying to say what they want to do. And ultimately, I don't want you to hear someone tooting their horn and think that is the end result, because ultimately it isn't. The end result is that you're going to get a second stimulus check, and it's going to land in your pocket. The nuances of that check is still being debated. And so I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to be upset. I want you to stay positive, stay motivated, stay focused, and stay of LA for more.